This is Morning Edition on KCLU. Every day, Americans throw away millions of single-use water bottles, many of which never get recycled. Some end up in dumps and others as litter. Today, a Ventura County state legislator is introducing a proposed law to try to address the problem. The law would ban state agencies from buying single-use bottles as a way of encouraging everyone to reduce their use. KCLU's Lance Orozco talks with the state assembly member behind the proposal.
It's a type of pollution we see everywhere. We see them by the side of the road, floating in creeks and on our beaches. They are plastic water bottles. A state assemblyman from the Tri-Counties wants California to set an example and to use alternatives.
Single-use plastics just have a very negative impact on pollution, on the environment overall. Marine ecosystems, wildlife, greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, risk to human health, all associated with single-use plastic and single-use plastic bottles.
That's Democratic State Assemblyman Steve Bennett of Ventura.
They can't be recycled like other plastic can be. Single-use plastic bottles can only be downcycled. That means ripped apart and done one more thing done with them, and then eventually they get into the waste stream. This would be the water bottles that are just ubiquitous out there that everybody sees, real cheesy plastic that, you can bend and you just see them going out by the caseloads full of people buying those.
Today, Bennett is introducing a bill in Sacramento intended to make the state government a leader on this issue. It would ban state agencies from buying single-use water bottles.
The legislation would ban the state of California from entering into contracts to buy single-use plastic bottles. And so it would be one part of Senate Bill 54 that was passed last year, which tried to identify and decrease the use of single-use plastic. So this would be tailored for the state of California. And with our large purchasing, power, if we start finding alternatives to buying single-use plastic bottles, then it will create a bigger market for non-single-use plastic bottles and make it easier for everybody to convert.
If approved, Bennett believes it could be the first state legislation of its type in the nation.
I don't know of anybody else that has done this like this. I would be surprised if we didn't find that some European governments out there certainly have moved in this direction.
While the bottles might not seem like a big thing, consider some of the statistics from a 2023 study commissioned by the United Nations. An estimated 600 billion water bottles were made in 2021, and an estimated million water bottles are bought around the world every minute. Yet the UN study estimates that less than a third of the plastic used is actually recycled, and the state assemblyman says the use of the disposable bottles continues to climb.
Single-use plastic production overall is expected to triple by 2050. That means that just single-use plastic production would use 20% of all the total oil production in the world in 2050. So, that would be crazy for us to keep on this unsustainable single-use plastic production.
Bennett is hoping that if California bans the purchase of the bottles by the state, it will prompt other government agencies, businesses, nonprofits, and the public to do the same.
It will introduce and create a market for other people to do that, and also, set a model, an example for other, hopefully, corporations and everybody else to make a commitment to not buy single-use plastic bottles anymore.
But the proposal could face a battle. Plastic water bottles are big business. The Center for Biological Diversity reports that during the 2022 U.S. election cycle, the petrochemical and beverage industry spent more than $85 million for lobbying and political contributions. Lance Orozco, KCLU News.